October the 9th, garden flowers. The garden plants continuing to flower from previous months are much more in evidence in October as there are so few new ones to join them. The most noticed are likely to be Japanese anemones, dahlias, fuchsias, nicotiana, penstemons, nerines or amarines, as well as some hypericons, potentillas, roses, and hydrangeas. Climbers such as Virginia creeper, vitis, clematis, plumbago, and Russian vine are either at their most colourful, or in the case of the latter, at their most rampant. Tough bedding plants such as lobelia, liriope, alyssum, ageratum, and tagetes are all among the last to succumb in parks. Where there are herbaceous borders, perennials such as solidago, phlox, gaura, gelabia, helianthus, helenium, scabiosa, and rudbeckia do a little bit better. With the shorter days and colder nights, most plants are now starting to look worn out, but species such as Chinese lantern, yellow corydalus, cosmos, and nicotiana can still look fresh enough to put on a show. Chinese lanterns have been grown for their scarlet and orange lanterns for centuries. The lantern is just the papery covering of the edible cherry-like fruit within. Physalis alkekengi is usually the species we see in gardens, with its brightly coloured orange lanterns, and it is the other related species such as Physalis pubescens we see in supermarkets, with the bladder pulled back to reveal the edible Cape gooseberry within. Such an attractive plant has acquired a wealth of other names, such as strawberry tomato, husk tomato, bladder cherry, and winter cherry. It is often the range of differently coloured Cosmos bipinnatus that catch our eye in October. Cosmos flower earlier in the year and then seem to have a rest period when their brittle stems usually get broken by winds. When it comes to the autumn, they seem to have a second flush when the smallest flower buds open readily, even when cut and brought indoors. Tobacco plants, Nicotia sylvestris, are widely planted for their heady fragrance on warm evenings. They only arrived in London in 1897, whereas their relation, Nicotiana tabacum, the species used to make tobacco, arrived with Sir Walter Raleigh 3 centuries earlier. There was probably more opposition to the import of tobacco plant than any other, with kings and popes joining in the condemnation, and even a sultan throwing in the death penalty for good measure. As already mentioned, one group of plants that just start to open this month are the autumn crocuses. They are occasionally seen naturalized in short grass, open ground, or under trees. There are several coming from different parts of the Mediterranean, but Crocus coccianus, Crocus nudiflorus, Crocus pulchrellus, and Crocus speciosum are the most likely to be seen. Crocus coccianus comes from Turkey and the Lebanon and is often the first to open. It is vigorous, naturalizes easily, and has a number of different coloured hybrids. Usually pale mauve or pink, it often looks like a colchicum. Colchicum nudiflorus comes a little later. Crocus nudiflorus comes a little later and is much darker. At one time, it grew wild on Keston Common. Crocus pulchrellus is more of a pale blue with a dark yellow throat, and Crocus speciosus is usually the darkest mauve of all, as well as having lines along its petals. There are others that might possibly be seen, such as violet-scented Crocus medius from Italy, and the exotic Byzantine crocus, Crocus panaticus from Transylvania, which can almost look like an iris. Best of all is when they are seen covering traffic roundabouts in some of the more botanically enlightened boroughs. Another bulb that cannot help being noticed this month is the Cape belladonna, Amaryllis belladonna, whose bulbs can reach the size of coconuts. It's a close relation of the nerines as well as Crinum powellii, and can even hybridize with the latter. We often see their large metre-high pink trumpets in the unlikely setting of disused gardens. The reason for this is that they hate disturbance and like the warmth of walls. Left alone, they clump up to produce one of the most unlikely displays of the month. Another much smaller bulb is Sternbergia. These can look like yellow crocuses among the mainly purple autumn crocuses. However, although never particularly popular, they have a satin quality all of their own and are referred to in the Bible as the lilies of the field, more richly clothed than Solomon in all his glory. One last flower to look out for is the false dragonhead, or obedient plant, Physostegia. It has one particular feature that particularly appeals to children. Because of its strong, pliable flower stalks, its flowers can be turned in different directions, where they will then remain. At one time, large beds of them at Kew were quite an October attraction.